Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Today we are taking a look at the Imperial Troop Transport from the Star Wars Vintage Collection from Kenner / Hasbro. This is probably a year or so old at this point. You can see it's from The Mandalorian, but I recently got a good deal on it on Amazon, and I had it, and I thought, hey, it's Star Wars Day, right? Let's take a look at it. So if you're not familiar with the Imperial Troop Transport, this was never featured in any show or movie before The Mandalorian. This was something that Kenner created back in the day when the original 3 movies had kind of run their course and they had to come up with new vehicles and accessories and figures and things to keep the toy line going after the movies had ended. So they came up with this thing, the Imperial Troop Transport, and it's kind of funny. You just kind of like sit the stormtroopers in there. Kind of reminds me of Battle Bones from Masters of the Universe. It's basically a carrying case. It's not like they kind of sit in here and maybe fire out and they're covered. They're just hanging out, completely exposed, ready to get shot by somebody as this thing drives past. I don't know. It's a weird design, but I kind of love it. And like I said, the price was just right, so I decided to check it out. I love the retro style packaging. I think that's absolutely fantastic. You can take a look on the top here. It shows that the front opens up to hold 2 figures in the kind of cab area. Over here, it shows how you can fit them outside. There's also space for them to sit inside. Hatch opens from the back. Over here, it shows the gun turret, and then there's a hatch to open the top without taking the entire lid off. Over here, just another shot, basically just the front of the box again. And then over here, the back is pretty much the exact same pick as well. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I see this one has the kind of more traditional front of the box. And then over here, it actually says the Vintage Collection and actually says Hasbro and Disney. So this, I guess, is meant to be more of a retro look, so it's untarnished by those additional things so that it looks more retro, which I think is actually pretty cool. I like that they do that. I'm going to go ahead, get this opened up, and we're going to take a closer look. So here is the Imperial Troop Transport right out of the box, and I'm happy to report no stickers, no assembly. Pretty much comes 100% complete. The only thing you actually have to do, this little turret here comes loose in a bag with the instructions. So all you do is peg it right on here, and that's it. That's all the assembly that you have to do. Like I said, no stickers, which is fantastic. So absolutely love this. To demonstrate all the features with this, I am going to be using clone troopers. Now, I know they're not Imperial troops. I get that. But this is what I have handy, so I feel like they're close enough. We're going to be using some clone troopers here, so we got Commander Cody, and then I have this 501st Trooper here. These are the 5 POA figures. I do also have a First Order Trooper that is actually from the Vintage Collection, so he has more articulation, so you can see how all of these work. And then just for fun, I'm also going to show off some Mission Fleet characters and figures and see how they work. So we'll get a sense of all of these different kinds of figures and how they work with this thing. I think it's going to work really well for these guys, but we'll get there. So just wanted to demonstrate all that up at the front. But yeah, this thing looks really good. I like it quite a bit. The turret that I showed off can spin a full 360 degrees. The barrels can go up and down a little bit, not a ton there, but they do have some movement there. We do have a hatch here, so you can open this up, so you can have a trooper just kind of hanging out the top. If you want him to, you know, just kind of be hanging off, firing at somebody like that, or then you can just put him inside and close it back up. You can also lift this off completely, so you can see that there's a lot of cargo area in there. Now I'm going to do my best to show this off, but it's going to be probably hard to get some light in there. I do have a secondary light that I'm going to try and shine in. But these little seats can flip down. There are 4 of them. So let me see if I can get this secondary light in here. So you can see the 4 seats that flip down. Now there are 2 more seats molded in here and here, but they don't fold down. Only these 4 in the middle do. And then you have this little kind of weapons rack here in the front for storage. So let's see, we have, this is one of the kind of super basic guns that comes with the clone troopers. And you kind of just have to wedge these in here. It's kind of really hard to do, quite honestly. Now, the directions show you putting it in like this, but I don't know exactly what kind of guns they expect me to be using here, but you can kind of wedge them in. It's a little difficult, and they don't stay all that well, so you kind of just have to decide how you want to get them in there, but you can kind of wedge them in. So it'll just kind of sit in there. It's not perfect, and if you kind of tilt it, it might stay in place. It's actually staying in place. That's actually pretty good. Also, we have the little guns from the Mission Fleet characters. They can also kind of sit in here. They don't really so much fit in there as much as they're small enough that you can kind of wedge them in between the two brackets. But again, it's not 100%, and I don't know exactly which guns they expect me to be using. I guess the Stormtroopers come with specific guns for the Vintage Collection figures. So those are the ones that are probably supposed to fit in there, but all of the ones I have kind of fit, but aren't perfect. And then you can just flip these seats back up. Now, the one thing I wanted to show off with the seats, and this will probably be difficult to do, having to kind of tilt this up, but if you take a 5 POA figure, and you sit him on the seat, he kind of takes up the whole area to the point that, and let me see if I can lift this up. You can kind of see how he sits in there, but he really is like larger than life. He doesn't really quite fit in there. It looks kind of ridiculous. And I'm assuming that's because he can't actually bend his knees. So we take him out and we bring in one of the actual Vintage Collection figures. The one thing I will say about the Vintage Collection figures, their hips are so weird. At least the earlier ones are. You kind of have to turn this to get to the part that actually hinges upward. And then you would have to kind of spin this back down to bend this. So it's very strange how they decided to do these, because the pins kind of go up into the body instead of going into the crotch like a normal hip would on a figure. So that's about as good as you can do with that. And then if you try to sit him in here, he kind of doesn't really sit there. It looks like he's straddling it, and again, his head doesn't even come over the top there. So again, it doesn't quite work. But if I take a Mission Fleet figure, he kind of sits in there perfectly. And you could actually, like, if you put both of these down, and I use one of each, let me use a Shock Trooper over here. You could actually sit these two in there, and they both fit, and it looks normal. So I feel like that works a lot better than trying to use either the 3 3/4 inch, either 5 POA or Vintage Collection figures. I feel like the Mission Fleet figures work a lot better, in my opinion, because it's just kind of scaled more for them, which is strange, but I don't know. And again, I didn't have the original, and maybe the original was meant to have the figures not really fit in it. I mean, we did see on the front of the box that it just shows them kind of all hanging out here like this. But to me, that's kind of ridiculous. Why would you have so much of your body hanging out that you really can't, hide or take a defensive stance if someone starts firing? Now, I will say that the front of these, just the front one on each side, open. The rest of these do not open. These two do not open, just the first one. But if I take Commander Cody here, I don't really see the point in that kind of opening if he's going to have this much of his body still, exposed. But if I have a Mission Fleet figure, he can kind of get in there naturally, and then most of his body is still covered. He could kind of crouch down and just put his gun along this area, and not much of his body would be exposed. So again, I feel like that works better for Mission Fleet characters than for the 3 3/4 inch figures. If we come around to the back, where this opens up, you can definitely have the Mission Fleet characters just kind of stand there. And it looks like, they could even, while it's moving, just kind of stand there and fire out the back if they wanted to. Obviously, that's not something that these figures can do, even if they sat down. I mean, I guess they could sit down. They're tailgating. This is where they set up, the hot dogs and everything. But I mean, so that's possible, but it does feel like this opens up out the back, and it would work a lot better for a figure that can actually fit in there. I just think that looks a lot better, but that's just me. The only thing is, with a Mission Fleet character, you wouldn't really be able to utilize this hatch unless you're literally just coming in and out of it, because there's no way that they're going to be able to steady themselves and not just fall straight through. So I will give the 3 3/4 inch figures the upper hand on that. Coming down to the front, where you open this up, There is a lot of molded detail in here, and I'm going to try to shine the light in here so you can actually see all this. And let me zoom in a little bit. So there's a ton of molded in detail, and it looks like there are a few stickers here in the front. You can see this green and orange right here. And then if you look at this section here, there's a sticker. This is the control panel. This is on a ball joint. You can actually move this around. You can see it right down in there. So that moves all around. So to get a 3 3/4 inch figure in here, it's actually a little difficult. You'd have to get them all situated and then kind of tuck him in like past that and then swing the feet down and bring this around, and you can get it to happen, and then you can bring this up, and then he's in there and he's hanging out, and you can close this up and he is driving. But if you go and open this up on this side, and it's exactly the same sticker here, same cockpit area here. If you take a Mission Fleet figure, now see, he fits right in there perfectly. You can bring the cockpit up to him, no problem, and that works out really well. So first and foremost, I think this is a really cool vehicle. I think they did a great job with it. I like the design. The paint applications are great. No stickers need to be applied. Even the few stickers that are included come pre-applied in the box, which is great. There's a ton of features here. You have the opening doors, you have the cockpit area, you have the seats inside, the roof comes off, you have the hatch, you have the gun turret, the back opens up. There's a ton going on with this, and I think it looks really great. I just think as far as 3 3/4 inch figures go, I think it's a little cramped. And like I said, I think that, you know, harkens back to the original toy design where they really did just have the figures hanging out there and it was almost just like a carrying case. But I just think it looks a little cramped. I think they look a little out of place, but I love it. Absolutely love it for Mission Fleet figures. And if you're a fan of Mission Fleet like I am, I think you should definitely pick this up. Hopefully Amazon still has it on sale. And I think it works really well with the Mission Fleet figures. You know, get yourself a ton of Stormtroopers, Clone Troopers, whatever you want to do. And you know, this thing could probably carry 20, 25 troopers if you're just trying to jam them inside. I mean, there's a ton. But even if you wanted to put them in proper places, you've got the 4 seats inside, you've got the 6 outside, that's 10. You got 2 up here, that's 12. I mean, that's not even counting literally just opening the top and jamming them in there. So, and I love how they can fit out the back. I love having the back open and having them just kind of stand inside. Like you could have the lid open and just have them standing out here, you know, firing or whatever you need them to do. I think that looks really, really cool. So I think it's a great, great vehicle. I just think as far as the vintage collection goes, and honestly, you know, having a full-on vintage collection figure with more articulation probably makes it a little bit easier as far as getting the figures inside. I admit it was not made for the 5 POA figures, so it probably works better with figures like this. But I just think it works so much better for Mission Fleet. I don't know. That's just me. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you think I'm nuts or what. But I think it's a really fun vehicle, and I think you should pick one up and use it with your Mission Fleet figures. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.